Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
The past couple of seasons, it has definitely not been the Denver Broncos' best, but they've still remained to be the favorite here in the Mile High City when it comes to the number of fans. But if they're no longer the gold standards, does that change how people will look at the organization? Sitting down with us today, the one and only James Merilatt, because it is, in fact, Merilatt Monday, and you actually had an article on this morning, which kind of caught me a little bit by surprise. But to be honest, it's starting to feel like the gold standard might be diminishing a little bit.
Well, and look, and I'm a Denver native. I've lived here my whole life. I've been a fan of all the teams. And it sounds crazy to say there could be a day, and it may not be that far away, where the Broncos aren't the biggest show in town.
Yeah.
Because they always have been. And it hasn't even been particularly close. I mean, Colorado sports fans tend to bleed orange. It's all about the Broncos, win or lose. If they win, they're excited. If they're losing, they're ticked. And then the second favorite team in town is whoever's winning. Yeah. That's just always how it's been. I'm not calling anybody front runners. That's just how it is.
Yep.
Nobody's out. I mean, we talk about it all the time with the Rockies, how bad they are, and should fans protest? Nobody's protesting the Rockies. They're just, either they don't care that they're bad, or they're just going to go down and have a good time, have a couple beers, enjoy being out in the sun, and call it good. When the Broncos are bad, as we've seen the last 8 years, people are ticked. People are furious.
For sure.
But, and I use this example in my article today at denversports.com to make the point. Go ask somebody right now who the heavyweight champion of the world is. Nobody knows.
Couldn't tell you.
When I was a kid growing up, everybody knew it was Muhammad Ali. It's Larry Holmes. It's Mike Tyson. It's household names. The heavyweight champion of the world was arguably the most famous person in the world.
Wow.
They could walk down the street in any city and people would know who that was.
Yeah.
Now I could tell you their names and nobody would even know. And it's been that way for 25 years.
Fair.
So you go back to 1975 and tell somebody, there's going to be a day and age when the heavyweight champion of the world could walk down the streets of New York and people wouldn't know who he was. They would have said, you're off your rocker.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the Broncos.
It's going that way.
Now, boxing kind of did it to itself. It's the alphabet soup of WBO, WBC, IBF. Like, there's all these different champions.
For sure.
They didn't do what UFC does, which UFC makes people fight the next guy in line.
Yep.
Right? Like you can't just duck a guy. It can't go on for years and years and years where we haven't seen the fight we want to see.
Yep.
That's part of why UFC has gained in popularity, is it's run more like a sport.
For sure.
The corruption of boxing screwed it up. But if you're the Broncos and you just continue to be bad, it's a revolving door of quarterbacks. It's a revolving door of head coaches. You keep raising ticket prices. At some point, people are going to say enough's enough. And the world has changed, right? So I grew up going to the games. To some extent now, going to the game is a pain in the neck because it's hard to follow my fantasy team. It's harder to follow my parlay.
Yep.
It's an all-day excursion where it's like, man, do I really want to spend 6 hours of my Sunday not with my kids and doing that kind of stuff?
Yep.
People will make another decision and choose something else if you don't give them a good product. We don't live in the world it was in 1975.
Yeah.
If you don't give them a good product, there's a million other options. Walk down the olive aisle at the store. There used to be black olives or green olives.
Now there's blue cheese, stuffed olives, garlic olives, all the olives.
Right. It's insane. Or the mustard. There used to be Grey Poupon and French's.
Yep.
That was it. Now there's 85 different mustards.
It's all about the mustards and olives.
That's the way the world works now. There's a million options.
Fair.
People are, going to pick something else. And it's not just the birthright that's never going to change that the Broncos are the biggest show in town. It's just not.
For me, it's actually a conversation we have a lot of times about the Nuggets and the Avs, where because people aren't able to watch them, if the younger generation's not going to grow up loving them. And yes, when the playoffs come on, they can watch them and etc. But now it's actually more of, for the Broncos, they're bad. So the younger generation is going to go find alliances to different teams. They're going to look at the other teams that are like, oh, Lamar Jackson, I'm a Ravens fan. I have a cousin who's a Ravens fan because of Lamar Jackson.
Well, I'll just use my household as an example, right? Like the day I was born, there's a picture of me in the little incubator thing or whatever in an orange and blue stocking cap, like literally born a Broncos fan. And I wanted to raise my kids in a similar kind of
Did you give
thing.
them the orange and blue stocking cap?
No, but they had Broncos gear when they were little.
Okay.
I've got pictures
This
of
might be
all
on
of
you
us.
a little bit, James.
All of us at the parade, when they won Super Bowl 50.
So fun.
And they're all decked out in their, C.J. Anderson jersey and their Emmanuel jersey. And their, I think one of them still had a DT jersey at that point. So, I tried, but they've been so bad. I got a Seahawks fan.
Oh.
I got an Eagles fan. I got a Bengals fan.
Now, you're all over.
That might be me as a failure as a father, but those teams are fun to watch.
Agreed.
They're entertaining. They're good. It's hard to convince, and now they're older, 18, 15, and 12, but it's hard to get them to, hey, spend 3 hours of your Sunday watching this team score 14 points and lose.
Yep.
That's a tough sell for 8 years.
Did your Seahawks son, is that the youngest?
Mm-hmm. No, middle one.
Middle one. Was he a fan of the Broncos because of Russell Wilson when he came over?
He did like the fact that Russ was here. And now here's where he became a Seahawks fan. He was, when it was Super Bowl 48 was 10 years ago. He was 5.
Yep.
So to him, watching the Broncos lose 43-8.
Super Bowl 48 was 10 years ago?
Yeah. For him, watching his team, the team lose 43-8 was like, this sucks. Yeah. I'm going to root for the team that won 43-8. And then they went to the Super Bowl the next year.
As a 5-year-old, though, you can't.
And he liked the jerseys, and they have the little bit of neon green.
Yeah.
And, it's like, okay. And he's remained a fan ever since.
Wow.
We went to a game in Seattle. It was a ton of fun.
Yep.
But, when you're a kid, you make your allegiance based on, I was a Mets fan as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockies weren't here.
Yeah.
Why did I pick the Mets? Because they wore orange and blue. I was a Broncos fan. That, you make decisions kind of based on silly things.
Yep.
That's what they've done. And a lot of it is, it's boring and frustrating to watch the Broncos. So they're going to watch Red Zone, follow their fantasy team.
Yep.
They're going to go out in the backyard and play football and basketball with their cousins. And they're going to come in and ask, hey, how's it going? Did they do anything? Nope. Okay. And then go right back outside.
Yeah. You have to entertain people. You have to. You do.
There's too many options. Again, when I was a kid, there was one game to watch. It was the Broncos.
Yep.
Or you could click to, you had 2, 4, 7, 9, and 31. And to click to 31, you had to put it on you and then click to 31. I'm dating myself here. But now there's a million other things. Like Red Zone didn't exist then.
Yep. Social media shows you every single play.
Right. So it's just the Broncos have to put forth a better product.
Yep.
And not only have they been bad, they've been boring.
Yep.
And they also do things that rub people the wrong way. Right? Raising ticket prices after the way things have gone rubs people the wrong way.
Agreed.
Look, Sean Payton, if he wins, nobody's going to care that he's a little abrasive, shall we say.
That some people call him.
If you lose and you're that way,
people hate you.
You're turning people off.
For sure.
Right? At least if you're likable.
Yeah.
The Cubs for years were the lovable losers.
Yep.
They were lovable. Go down to Wrigley Field, let's have a good time. And, Ryan Sandberg seemed like a good guy. People got on board. If you're a, what, and you lose, that people are going to either turn on you or just be like, I don't need this. Yeah. So, can I see the day and age in 5 years where the Broncos aren't the biggest show in town? Absolutely, I could.
Well, and it's crazy because of the success that the Avs and Nuggets have continuously had. But there was a poll recently done that came out on Friday, essentially, that said that the Avalanche are the favorite team here in the Mile High City. They're more popular than the Denver Broncos. And I would never expect to see that day. And I mean, we obviously work in sports and we see the numbers behind our website, our video views, etc. I would still say that the Denver Broncos hold the number one allegiance. But I can definitely see the day that it comes because there's no hope. And once you lose hope, you have no interest.
Oh, for sure. And it's also, part of it is what's a cool team to follow.
Yeah.
Right? What's kind of hip and trendy.
I was a Warriors fan when they were doing their crazy season, and Steph Curry, I know Joey, our producer right now, is shaking his head at me like unbelievable.
I go watch high school and middle school basketball almost every single weekend. And Steph Curry has impacted an entire generation. Yes. Everybody thinks they can shoot from the logo. It's hard to watch, but everybody thinks they can. But that became a fun team to watch. They have fans all over the country now.
Yep.
They were on TV all the time, and they were fun. And I made this point in my column today. Other than Pat Surtain, if you went to the team store, what jersey are you buying?
That's what's really scary. There is nobody out there.
Nobody. And no star power.
Cortland Sutton was like the household, everybody loves him. Everybody's kind of turned on Cortland Sutton now because of his comments and being alone in the room, etc. So there are no names. Garrett Bowles, all I remember about Garrett, besides the holding number 72, is him lifting his kid up at the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's a starless team.
Yes.
And you look at the Avs, and it's, McKinnon, McCarr, Rantanen, Val, like they have, 3 or 4 of the top 15 players in the league
for sure
on that team. You look at the Nuggets, and it's like, all right, you got the 2-time, about to be 3-time MVP.
Yep.
Jamal's a great player. MPJ has great potential.
Even Aaron Gordon, people love Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, there's something there to latch onto. Those guys have been here for a long time, right? McKinnon's been here a decade. Jokic has been here a decade. You've got to build that fan affinity. At Broncos, it's just a revolving door, and what jersey would you buy? That seems like kind of a silly way to position it, but it does make the point. The Rockies are the same way. What jersey would you buy for the Rockies?
A nameless one. I would not buy a single one.
I'll bet you if you and I went to the game sometime this week, we would see Helton, Tulo, maybe Arenado, and the only active player we would see is Charlie Blackmon.
That's probably fair. I'm trying to think of like anyone else.
Maybe a couple Larry Walkers.
Yep.
So you would buy one, like you could maybe buy Pat Surtain because, he's a great player now, and I can wear it even after he retires.
I think a lot of people aren't getting attached to Pat Surtain because they're like, he's going to be gone. They're going to trade him. They're just not good enough to hold on to him. Even if it's not at the draft, it's the trade deadline. They're going to look at.
And he's a great player, but he's so great, like he doesn't get a chance to do anything. So like, what was the Pat Surtain highlight from this past year?
Exactly.
There wasn't one.
Exactly.
So their best player had no highlights.
Yep.
Like it's because
no one wants to throw the ball at him.
It's a terrible mix at the moment. It breaks my heart.
I know.
But it's the way it's going to be. There are more stars on the CU football team than there are on the Broncos.
You hear about Dion Sanders? His
lovely
quote because his students weren't paying attention in class.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
Oh, here, let me just pull up this quote, actually. It's a good one. I know there's some other drama going on with Dion up there, but he said, you're going to get something out of this. You're going to be a man or you're going to be a man or you're going to be a great football player. Since you chose not to be a great football player, we got to make you men. I was like, okay, Dion. It's kind of a legendary quote.
Yeah, I like it. I like the bluntness of it.
You have to pay attention in class. That is one thing I will give a lot of respect to is he is very much on making these young men go out there and be something in this world.
From day one. Remember he was talking about how, hey, we're going to open doors for people. We're going to say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Yes.
And that seems like little stuff, but it's not.
It adds up.
It's sort of the Jordan Peterson idea of, hey, make your bed every day. Make your room tidy.
Do you make your bed every day?
I do.
Oh, I do not.
I hate getting into an unmade bed.
I feel like you're an OCD kind of person at home where you're like, the dishes, they all got to go in the dishwasher.
Oh, and they're basic. I can't tell if the dishwasher is run or not because I put them in so clean.
Oh.
Like I do not let the dishwasher get the stuff off the plate.
Have you heard though that like your dishwasher won't clean as well unless there is like stuff for it to grab onto? Have you heard that?
That's who made up that story? Lazy people. That's nonsense.
Listen, I'm just saying. I follow an OCD like organized girl on TikTok.
Don't get me started too on all this thing of like now we have these like low water pressure things. It's like they don't wash it as well, so you end up having to run it like twice. It's like, well, we're using more water than we would have used if we'd have just had them the industrial way they were back in the day. Anyhow,
I'm impressed you make your bed every single day.
Every day?
I'll give it to you. I do not. Maybe that's why my life is all over the place.
But the point is it's the little things, right?
It is the little things.
It's the little things because that is the vast majority of what you do in life. The big moments are fleeting. You make your bed every single day. You brush your teeth every single day. You do those kind of things. So if like you do all those right,
true,
it's going to make the rest of your life better.
Just kind of lines up. Yeah.
So go to class, pay attention, open the door, say yes, sir, yes, ma'am. It adds up.
Please and thank you. Yes, agreed. I really want to quickly get into the Broncos at number 12 because, of course, as the draft continues to go and we're talking about them having to improve because people are not going to follow along. I know they did a wonderful sports, denversports.com, of everybody giving their opinions on what the Broncos are going to do.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I think they're going to trade up.
You do?
I think they're going to try and get J.J. McCarthy, and I think it's going to be a giant whiff.
Yeah, great.
That's what I think they're going to do.
4 years of failure, everyone.
That's what I think they're going to do. And look, we'll see how it all unfolds because you have to have willing trade partners. I think there's a division in that building. I think one guy wants to be aggressive and move up. I think another guy wants to be less aggressive and trade down. And I think we all know which guy's going to win that battle. It's Sean Payton. They're going to trade up. They're going to try and get his guy. Because what is he? If it whiffs, he leaves. And it's somebody else's problem to deal with, right? He'll leave, no draft picks, a bunch of dead cap. and a mess if he misses. If he hits, he's the hero.
Fair.
Right? So I think he's riverboat
Does this
gambler.
impact Sean Payton's legacy?
Yes and no. Like, was Sean Payton a Hall of Fame head coach before he came to Denver? I don't think so.
See, I disagree. I think that that Drew Brees era, that Super Bowl, put him like at the very top.
Let's say they were bad this year and he quit and he went back to Fox and just became a TV guy.
It would be
a little bit like it's a little bit like Jimmy Johnson going to Miami, though. Like, that didn't ruin his legacy. And he had more success there, I guess, than Sean would have had here. Russ is going to get all the blame. It's going to be he inherited the Russell Wilson mess. He couldn't figure out how to deal with it. Now, this will hurt his legacy. If the Broncos stink, Russell Wilson goes to Pittsburgh and goes to the playoffs, you have to have the second factor for Sean Payton. Otherwise, Sean's going to be able to pin it on Russ.
Russ's legacy has been destroyed right now.
Because he's getting all the blame.
Yeah. But
he's getting all the blame.
If he doesn't succeed, I don't know if he makes it into the Hall of Fame. Like, it has been destroyed. Yeah.
No, he's not a Hall of Fame. He was the Hall of Famer before he came to Denver. He's not right now.
Exactly. Same thing for Sean Payton. Like, I think his legacy, his defining moments depend on how he does as the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
I think
because everybody says it's Brees.
Well, there's going to be more of that now. You're right. There will be more of that if he fails in Denver.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I'm nervous that he's going to bail if this year is bad, because the shorter amount of time, the less impact it has on his legacy.
Think about it.
If it's like, hey, he's going to be here for 5 years and they're going to be 5 losing seasons, and he can look at it and say, we missed on the quarterback. We don't have draft picks.
You
don't
think his pride is too high, though, to say, I'm going to bounce?
I think it's more of a pride from the standpoint of, I don't want to damage my legacy with 5 bad years. 2 bad years was bad enough. That's what has me nervous. Like, I'm telling you, this is a real possibility. If they're bad this year and they haven't solved the quarterback riddle,
oh my gosh,
they're actually better off to play Jarrett Stidham, go 4-13, have a high pick next year, and have the hope of getting a franchise quarterback next year. They're better off if your goal is to keep Sean Payton, to have that scenario, than to draft Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, whatever. And if that misses,
I'm okay with Bo Nix if you just take him at 12. I'm really nervous about them going after JJ with the number 4 and giving up 3 first-rounders.
That's what I think they're going to do, which I think is a colossal mistake.
Terrible.
We're on the same page.
It's going to be so bad for this organization.
So in that article at denversports.com, it was 2 questions. What do you think they're going to do?
Yep.
That was my answer. They're going to.
What do you want them to do?
And what do I want them to do? I want them to stay at 12, draft Brock Bowers.
I don't think Brock Bowers is going to be there.
We'll see. If not, like, don't sit there and take another cornerback. But
Please,
in my ideal world, Brock Bowers
cornerback.
slips to 12. You take him, and then you figure out, where is Michael Penix Jr. going to go? And then you make sure you go get him. If they come out of the draft with Brock Bowers to solve the tight end problem, that's arguably their second biggest need.
Fair.
And they've got a guy that, at least from a quarterback standpoint, we're all going to be interested in watching. I have questions about Michael Penix Jr. too, but prior to the national title game, if you just said, who's going to go first, Michael Penix Jr. or JJ McCarthy, 100% of people would have said Michael Penix Jr.
Agreed.
Now, one might go in the top 4 and the other guy might not be a first-round pick. That seems like a steal to me. So I would try to get to like 31, 32, get another first-round pick, use it on him. So you've got that 5th-year option, all the rest of that, kind of like the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson when they took him at the end of the first round. That to me would be a great first day of the draft.
I'm trying to think back. Will Peterson was like, why are we talking about or whatever? He's like, let's get both of them. And I'm like, I don't know how that can happen. Like, that would be a really good Brock Bowers, and I think he wanted Bo Nix. Joey, was it Bo Nix? Yeah.
Well, I want Brock Bowers and Michael Penix Jr. I want a quarterback with big upside, not a quarterback that I am so sick of hearing how he's going to be able to process and arm strength is overrated. It's like, you can't just have a big arm, but if you don't have a great arm, you're not going to be successful in this league.
My favorite thing about Bo Nix is the way that he can handle pressure and how he can be successful handling pressure.
He threw 150 passes that didn't get to the line of scrimmage.
They still were able to make some plays on those type of things. Let's be honest. The offensive line's not going to be much better this year.
No, but it's going to be expensive.
Of course it is. Are you kidding? Everything the Broncos do is expensive, even if there's no product on the field. I'm okay on Bo Nix. I am. I'm starting to kind of get
12?
more in. I would prefer if they could move down a little bit, but I think you're playing a risky game with how many teams need quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You just have to take it at 12.
Yeah, if he's there at 12 and you think, we can get him at 18, you trade down and somebody takes him at 16.
Could you imagine?
Now you're stuck.
Broncos country would riot.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's Bo Nix, we are all going to show up at training camp.
You and I both agree, just don't trade up and mortgage your future.
We'll be interested to go watch at training camp and see Bo Nix.
For sure.
We will be. Preseason games will be really interesting. The year will be more compelling. If they sit at 12 and draft a cornerback, or they trade down and draft a cornerback,
Terrible.
and it's Jarrett Stidham,
terrible.
It goes back to our earlier
out.
conversation of like, why in the heck are we tuning in?
Yep.
Like, what is the point here?
Yep.
The Jarrett Stidham era should be done. It should have been the 2 games he played at the end of last year, and it's time to move on.
Exactly. All right, James Merilatt, always an absolute pleasure having him on. And to all of you in the comments, thank you so much for chilling with us here on this Monday. We will be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for another episode of Denver Sports Daily, and right back here at 12 p.m. for another episode of Coffee Break. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, comment down below. Who are your alliances? Is it Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rockies, Rapids, whoever it is? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you guys later. Get back to work, everybody. Bye.